Tonight, officials say the breakout at a New Orleans jail was an inside job, arresting jail maintenance worker Sterling Williams. They say he turned off the water to this cell, enabling 10 inmates to escape through the wall. According to the arrest affidavit, Williams told investigators one of the fugitives told him to turn off the water, threatening to shank him if he didn't comply. An inmate also tried to take Williams's phone, according to the document.
He intended to assist these individuals to leave that facility.
The sheriff's office says a total of 3 jail employees are on leave without pay. The police chief today with this message for anyone who aids the escapees.
If they participate willfully and knowingly, they are going to be charged with serious felonies.
6 fugitives are still on the run, including a convicted killer. Police say 4 have been recaptured and arrested, all in New Orleans. The latest on Monday night, 21-year-old Gary Price. The sheriff who oversees the jail has been under fire for the response. Today, she apologized.
I take full accountability for this failure.
According to the jail's timeline, guards didn't notice the inmates were missing for more than 7 hours after their escape. The public wasn't notified for more than 10 hours.
Look, if this jailbreak happened at 1, the public should have known at 1:05. The public is your best friend.
New Orleans District Attorney Jason Williams prosecuted the convicted killer now on the loose. He says the sheriff's response puts the public at risk.
Every single day that these men are at large, the public is in danger.
And look, y'all already know me. You already know on this channel, we hold racist institutions accountable, because if we don't, who will? But before I start with this video, if you don't like black people, black issues, black talks, get to stepping. And I can't even lie, I have to be 100. Everything that's going on in New Orleans, it reminds me of a movie called Set It Off. Tell me I'm lying, but check this out. Shortly after the Annabelle doll was displayed at a paranormal event in New Orleans, a series of unusual incidents occurred, including a prison break and a fire at a historic plantation. Some individuals and media outlets speculated that the Annabelle doll might have been responsible for these events, attributing them to the doll's alleged paranormal properties and reputation for chaos. Make that make sense. And these people told them, whatever you do, do not remove that doll from that museum in Connecticut. And guess what? We got a racist museum in North Carolina completely destroyed. Then you have sundown towns in Kentucky completely wiped out by tornadoes. I told y'all the game is cold. Then I said, wait, let me do my research on these inmates. And one inmate story stood out to me, Derrick Groves. But wait, this is a warning. I'm about to show y'all how evil the prison system and these politicians are in Louisiana. But first, here's a quick history lesson on OPP.
Well, history books. Come here, let me stretch y'all out right fast, because this book be New Orleans hood history on the New Orleans City Jail, a.k.a. Orleans Parish Prison. Now, Orleans Parish Prison was originally built in 1895, and of course, back then it was built for the slaves. Now, after slavery, it still had slaves in there, but at least they had white people as well. Back then, it was located in the Treme area of New Orleans. In the 1930s, they moved OPP over to Tulane and Broad, where it began its reputation as one of the worst city jails in the country. In 2005, OPP got flooded and all the prisoners had to be removed and the jail was no longer operable. Fortunately, they had to build a New Orleans Parish Prison, which they built on Perdido Street. Unfortunately, they still having the same problems they was having before the new jail was built, because they understaffed and they still mistreating the prisoners. In 2022, you can see the prisoners here protesting because they're not eating and getting their medicine.
And look, for a lot of people that don't know, you cannot trust these articles in Louisiana. They gonna put what they want to put in these articles. They gonna tell you the first half go be true, but they ain't gonna tell you why someone did what they did, because they don't want you to connect the dots. They don't want you to put the pieces to the puzzle together. So check this out, and shout out to Facebook, man, because Facebook will tell you everything. You ain't gonna learn about this in these news articles. People on Facebook, they can find anything, bro, and connect the dots. So check this out. Derrick Groves, a 27-year-old New Orleans native who was convicted of 2 counts of second-degree murder for a fatal Mardi Gras shooting in 2018. He escaped from the New Orleans Parish Jail on May 16, 2025, along with 9 other inmates, and remains at large. Groves was found guilty of murdering Jamal Robinson and Byron Jackson, and his escape has raised concerns about public safety and jail security. A $20,000 reward has been offered for information leading to his capture. Make that make sense. And let me tell y'all something, for the people who just trust anything these articles say, or for the people that put a lot of trust in cops, the judge, look, you cannot trust Louisiana cops. They gonna tell you $20,000. If you from Louisiana and you black, trust me, they're not giving you no goddamn $20,000. If they give it to you, it's not gonna be $20,000. They gonna give you the runaround because they think people in Louisiana are slow. They think you are dumb, so they gonna say $20,000 to make you tell on somebody. And I'm about to tell you why he did what he did. But they're going to offer you $20,000. Even if they give you money, it might be like $3,000. If they give you that, and if you know, you know. They're not going to tell you everything to put the pieces together, to connect the dots. So sometimes you got to go to Facebook. Sometimes you got to go to Instagram. Sometimes you got to go to TikTok and find out the information, because they don't want you to connect all these dots and understand why Derrick Groves did what he did. Check this out. A New Orleans police unalived Derrick Groves' grandmother almost 30 years ago. Make that make sense. So basically, he couldn't get to the cop because the cop was already in prison. The cop that set it up, he couldn't get to him. So guess what he did? He went to his family members and got them. And look, I don't condone violence, but make that make sense. And I ran across something. It's one of his family members. I don't know if it's his auntie or if it's his mother, but they had an article. Her name is Jasmine Groves. She wrote an article back in 2020. And I'm going to put that article in the description. I really need y'all to go read that, and you will find out how New Orleans police really are. That's the truth. They all crooked. But I told y'all, these people are always on the same team. But the rabbit hole gets even deeper. Check this out. And now we move on to the cop that had his grandmother murdered, Lynn Davis. Check this out. And this article is by NOLA.com. It was published January the 7th, 2025. Lynn Davis, New Orleans corrupt cop, asked judge to reinstate his death sentence. Lynn Davis, a notoriously corrupt New Orleans police officer whose federal death sentence for the 1994 murder of Kim Groves was commuted last month to life in prison by President Joe Biden. Davis is asking a judge to reinstate the death penalty that a jury leveled against him nearly 3 decades ago. In his filing, Davis wrote that he has always maintained his innocence and argued that the federal court had no jurisdiction to try him for civil rights offenses. Keeping his death sentence would help draw attention to the overwhelming misconduct he claims prosecutors committed against him, Davis added. Make that make sense. So this dude, he feels like by keeping his death sentence that people will actually care about his case. Like people will actually look into his case and help him. Look, Lynn Davis, aka Alonzo, it's time to go home. Nobody care about you, brother, because you was a real demon. Check this out. A patrol officer known as the Desired Terrorist, Davis for years led a small ring of New Orleans officers. Remember that part. He led officers, so it wasn't just him. Remember that part. It's so important. He led officers pushing cocaine and providing a cover to drug dealers, often inciting violence and falsifying evidence, according to prosecutors. He was convicted in 1996 for ordering the murder of Kim Groves, a 32-year-old mother of 3 who had accused Davis and his partner of brutally beating a young boy in the neighborhood. Make that make sense. And 4 trials. It took them 4 trials to convict, to find Derrick Groves guilty, because those cops knew what he did, but they had to get their story together. I tell y'all all the time, all these cops, politicians, judges, they all on the same team. They might have a fall guy, and Lynn Davis was the fall guy. Actually, they were setting him up. They gonna always set up the black cop. They were setting him up the whole time. He was the only one, I think he was the only one that went to prison for all this stuff while they was setting him up. And you have to realize, like I told you, they all on the same team, especially in Louisiana. They go stick together. That's why I don't feel bad when my people are running from the cops, because guess what? They go stick with their people. I'm going to always stick with my people. But you have to realize something. The prisons in Louisiana are still like plantations. If you escape, those slave catchers coming for you, because you have to realize they make money from every black man that's in prison. They get millions and thousands and billions of dollars. That's why in Louisiana, they want to keep building these prisons, because they get money. They get easy money. They can eat crawfish. They can chill. They can play bingo. They can go golfing. They can go play baseball, go watch LSU football and not worry, because they locking Negroes up. That's why I always say, man, you got to be careful with these laws in the South Of course, you can get a gun now with no paper on it because they want you at 18 to get a gun with no paper on it, and you unalive somebody. Guess what? You going to Angola, they getting paid. It's just that simple. But look, when it gets real, they don't want you to escape the plantation. But when it gets real, they will leave you high and dry. Run the tape.
Motherfuckers think being in prison is the worst thing ever. Now imagine being in prison while a motherfucking hurricane is happening. Now this is Paris prison where 517 inmates vanished. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina struck New Orleans. Inmates was left to dry in chest-high water trapped in their cell. And the New Orleans mayor ordered a mandatory evacuation, but the sheriff said he not doing that shit. He said we're going to keep the prisoners where they belong. And the sheriff said they going to be good because they got backup generators just in case the power go down. And I got to thinking, what the fuck backup generators going to do if the whole prison is getting flooded with water? They was housing 6,500 inmates at the time the storm hit. The prison ended up losing power shortly after the storm made landfall. And then all the cells on the first floor started flooding. That's when the sheriff asked for help evacuating the prison. It took them 7 days to evacuate the whole prison. The prisoners said it felt like they was abandoned and left to be unalived. And while they was waiting to be evacuated, they were stuck in the prison with no water, no food, no power. Well, actually, they were stuck around a lot of water, but that water was dirty, undrinkable water. And the sheriff said the prisoners is lying and it wasn't that bad, but the prisoners said it was literally bodies floating around in the water. They said when the inmates tried to escape to save their life, the guards started to shoot them. And I don't think the prisoners is lying, because it was bad on the outside. Like, people was literally getting unalived from the storm and they had freedom. So I know the motherfuckers who was stuck in the prison got unalived. And if they didn't get unalived by the guards, them being stuck inside the prison while a hurricane is happening most definitely will.
And I have to really calm down when I say this. I have to really calm down because it's not adding up. It's not making sense. They so eager to catch these black men. And look, I don't condone violence. If you hurt someone innocent, if you took advantage of somebody, I don't condone it. But in the same sentence, where's that same energy for these racist Louisiana cops when they murdered Ronald Green? This is an innocent man. They murdered him on video. This man was begging for his life. This man told the cops, I'm your brother. And they still murdered him on video. Still on video. These cops got no prison time. It was no outrage. So where is that same energy? Look, you can offer me 20K. You can offer me 40K. You can offer me 60K. I will never help a slave catcher because when it's time to hold their people accountable, they never do. I'm out. But before I go, in the words of Jenny, run, Forrest, run. Man, they never go find Derrick. He a man on a mission.